What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. Um, while ESPN and Fox Sports are talking about the Lakers and LeBron, maybe a little bit of Clippers, maybe Giannis. Okay, there's still more than just three or four teams in the NBA. Trae Young scored 50 points last night, which is a career high for him, in a victory over the Miami Heat. He was 12 of 25 overall from the field, which included 8 of 15 from three-point range. I believe the 8 made three-pointers tied his personal best, and he was 18 of 19 from the foul line. All right, so that brought up, because people tend to live in the moment, that brought up inevitable comparisons to Steph Curry, because they're both light-skinned, high-scoring perimeter players. So, can Trae Young ever be as great as Steph Curry? I'm not going to say greater, because I just find that disrespectful. That's just, you're pretty much insinuating that because he had a 50-point game, that makes him better than Curry, which doesn't make sense because Curry's had multiple 50-point games in his career. All right, so I'm just going to leave the bar at, can he ever be as great? I mean, it's possible, okay, but that's a very tall order. I mean, first of all, Atlanta Hawks are 14 and 37, and the Atlanta Hawks haven't won a championship since they were in St. Louis back in 1958. So the Atlanta Hawks, since they've been in Atlanta, haven't done much of anything in the playoffs. They haven't had an NBA Finals berth. Okay, they have been in the NBA Finals in what, 50, almost 60 years. Um, they haven't really made a lot of noise in the playoffs. They've had some token appearances here and there, but on a consistent basis, not since maybe those Mookie Blaylock, Steve Smith, the Kembe Mutombo teams. I mean, they've had some appearances since then, but on a consistent basis since those teams, and definitely the Dominique Wilkins teams, they haven't really done much. All right, so the onus is on Trae Young to help to change the culture of the Atlanta Hawks. See, the thing about Steph Curry, and it's not just him, okay, it's not just him. You have Klay Thompson, all right? Kevin Durant ensured the championships, so you got to include him as well. But Kevin Durant, but if the genesis of it was Mark Jackson, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, um, you know, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green a little bit. I just tend to, excuse me, I tend to bring him down not because he's very overrated. But all those guys, then, Mark Jackson helped to create the foundation. Steve Kerr just got credit for every fucking thing. But, yeah, they helped to change, and Steph Curry was a leader. They helped to change the culture of the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors were a losing, bumbling joke of a franchise for years. The funny thing about the Warriors, is that for the first 30 years of their existence, they weren't a bad franchise. They won the inaugural championship in 46-47 when they were in Philadelphia. They won another title in 1956, all right, when they were still in Philadelphia. They had the great Will Chamberlain play for them, who brought them to the NBA Finals, I think, a couple of times, at least once or twice. And then, of course, they won a third championship in their first 30 years in 1975 under the great Rick Barry. All right, so they've won titles, but since then, that time period, up until Curry, um, they really hadn't won anything. Now they've had some exciting teams to watch. Run TMC was exciting, and they were a threat to an extent. They were, they're a team that could beat you with their scoring, but they didn't do anything. And the Warriors sucked for the second half of the '90s and most of the 2000s. They were a joke. So Steph Curry led the charge for the changing of the culture for the Warriors to the point where that 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 organization expects victories. They expect to be in the hunt for championships. And if they play their cards right, they could be a leading contender in the West for a finals appearance next year. Um, Much like how Tim Duncan helped to change you know, the culture for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, don't get me wrong. When David Robinson was there, he helped to change it too, because perhaps even more so because before David Robinson, the Spurs were not even contenders. David Robinson helped to at least make them a contending team, but Duncan turned them into a near dynasty. All right, Duncan turned them into, I can't say dynasty because never won back to back, but they did win 5 NBA championships during the Duncan era. So you get what I'm saying. Trae Young has to kind of change the Atlanta Hawks. It can't just be him scoring a lot of points and they lose. No, no. To be in that conversation with a Steph Curry, I know it's not just him. I get that. It was a committee, but Curry was the leader of that team. So for him to be in that conversation, Atlanta Hawks have to get some fucking playoff bursts. All right, he has to win some. He has to win. They got to win some championships, in my opinion, to at least be in that conversation with Steph Curry. If not, he's going to be a notch below. Now, if you're talking about individual performance, well, you got to take some other stuff into perspective. First of all, in today's NBA, teams are taking 34 three-point attempts a game. All right, an all-time record for all-time record. Last year, I think they took 32 three-point attempts a game. So the three-point shot is emphasized even more so. All right, some teams take even more than that. I think the Rockets take shit. They may take 40 a game. I don't know. When Curry came into the league, 2009, 2010, 2011, it was about 18 three-point attempts a game, and that at the time was an all-time high. But still, it wasn't as emphasized as it is today. Um, Now the league, the primary scoring threats are perimeter players. When Curry came to the league, it was perimeter guys, but still more. It was still a league where it was. I would say a lot of the scorers were still athletic swingmen or athletic guards. You know what I'm saying? You may have heard me mention before that Russell Westbrook fits more into the league 15, 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It was around the early 2000 teens that it was a change, a shift to wanting outside shooters. That's when analytics was entering the picture, and it was a pressure on general managers to get a team more geared toward outside shooting and such like that, and not have such an emphasis on mid range. Although Kawhi's killed that, in my opinion, that theory. But you got to remember, Trae Young has had a green light that Curry didn't have initially. Trae Young, his rookie year, uh, took about 15 and a half shots a game. Right? I just did a little research for this video. He took about 15 and a half shots a game. Trae Young this year is taking 21 shots a game. So he has a green light that Curry did not have. Curry, his first couple of years, only took about 14 shot attempts a game. Yeah, I remember the leading scorer when Curry first came onto the scene. This was right after that miracle Warriors team that took down the 67 win Mavericks in 2007, I think it was. That was a team that had Baron Davis, Jason Richardson, Steven Jackson, Al Harrington. What was that center name? Beatrice. This is that team. But after that, there was those teams that had Steph Curry, a young Steph Curry, and Monte Ellis. All right, and Monte Ellis was the leading scorer of those teams. He was the one that was putting up like 25 a game at one point. But Monte Ellis fell wayside because of the changing, analytics of the league. You know what I'm saying? Out were going, they were getting away from all these athletic guys. If you couldn't shoot a three, then your value was going down or whatever. That's why the Warriors eventually got rid of him, and in came Klay Thompson, and the rest was history. It wasn't until Curry's fourth year where he took 17 shots a game, and then the one year where he got the green light to shoot more than ever before was in 2016 when he won his second consecutive MVP award to Steph Curry, and he averaged 30.1 points per game, but his efficiency was remarkable. He shot 50% from the floor, 45% from three, 90% or so from the foul line. All right, Steph Curry was phenomenal that year. It's one of the greatest individual seasons in NBA history, and I believe he was the unanimous MVP. So basically, what I'm saying is, Trae Young is phenomenal, but he has a lot to accomplish before he can be in this conversation with Steph Curry. Steph Curry has 3 NBA championships. He has 2 league MVPs. He is pretty much considered by most the greatest shooter of all time. He's the greatest three-point shooter and of all time by the percentages. Now, Ray Allen and Reggie Miller are still ahead of him, but the percentages favor Curry. Curry, for his career, is like 43.7% from beyond the arc or something like that. Reggie Miller is 39.5%. Ray Allen's 40%. Those percentages are remarkable, but Curry it's just stratospheric, especially considering that the few players that have higher percentages than him were specialists who didn't shoot nearly as much as him, like uh, a Kerr or a Hubert Davis or someone like that. Those guys didn't shoot as much as Curry. Curry's a volume three-point shooter who shoots the percentage of a specialist that may take, 200 three-pointers a season attempts. So yeah, I'm just saying, Trae's good, but no, he's not Steph Curry. Uh-uh. I mean, he has a lot to work on. Number one, I'm not saying that Curry was a great defender. He's not, but at least he improved to the point where he was like average. From what I could tell, Trae Young is not a really good defensive player. Maybe I'm wrong, but the games I've watched him play, he doesn't seem to be great at that end. Even though I know that defense isn't emphasized in today's NBA, but if you go to playoffs, defense becomes and the game slows down and becomes a little bit more of a half court affair. Then defense matters, and especially when the officials aren't blowing that whistle in the playoffs. So, yeah, in my opinion, man, this stuff that Trae Young may still have to work on or whatever, but no, I mean, no, he's not at that level yet. And I think it's kind of blasphemous to even go there yet. Like, for instance, like, well, the Hawks got to make the playoffs. you know. But it is what it is. Tell me what you guys think.